This is a special edition reaction sleep stream video. And shouts out to all my channel members, Elijah Mirahira, David Jedediah, and JMT in the house. I also have Claire and Donnie747, Victor 3272. Oh, I gotta sneeze. We got Andy99 and Andy44. Thank you so much. And thank you to all my super chatters today, tomorrow, and the next day. Enjoy the show. Make sure you share this video with your friends, okay? Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching this from. I know, buddy.
Get inside, I'll handle this.
Like you, but lacks your sense of humor.
Lightsaber?
Oh, yeah.
Great. You better get ready. Lock the door. You'll be fine. Go.
To get down there.
We cannot land while under attack. Standard Jedi mission protocol states.
Won't need to land.
Oh, not this again.
Yes, this again. Once I'm on the ground, draw the fighter's way.
Yes, of course. Just remember what happened last time.
You got the timing wrong?
And didn't I feel terrible?
No! On my mark.
Copy.
3, 2, 1.
expect to see you again.
Disappointed?
No. However, can't allow you to interfere.
I don't have time for this.
That I know.
Plan.
Here. Do your thing.
What thing?
Do your lightsaber. Take it.
You keep it.
What?
I don't need it. Besides, you train it?
Very funny.
No, I'm serious.
Take it.
I gave it to you. It's yours now.
At least take a blaster.
No. The Force is my ally. That's all I need.
Well, I'm gonna need more than that.
Close. Not looking good for you.
Take her now.
Can't defeat me.
Perhaps. I don't have to.
Fine. Fine. Just stay in there.
Deploy teams 1 and 2. Use continent 2nd and tandem.
We have them.
Our side is short one mercenary. Where's Ben and Scott?
Destroy them.
Wait. We could talk. Or we could just... Don't you want to take us as prisoners? As prisoners? Huh? Or...
Fire!
Well, they're all back together. I hope I survived long enough to see the outcome.
What a rare sight. Almost like the Jedi of old. Recall the gunships. Call off the aerial pursuit. These are unfortunate, but acceptable losses given the absence of Lord Vader. In the grand scheme of things, one might even call this first match with Tano a success.
I see only our enemies reunited.
Let me show you what I see. With our enemy distracted, the cargo transfer is now almost complete, which means we shall soon leave this forsaken place. Ahsoka Tano has lost the one thing she could not afford to lose today. Time. Time is very much on our side now. And I shall keep it that way.
Surrender your weapon. I can help you. Ahsoka. Thought you were dead. And missed this reunion?
Wait. I thought she was dead.
Clearly I was wrong.
Hey, it's okay. These are friends. All friends. Guys, getting a feeling. I think I might be going home after all.
I've never even heard of anything like this. Never even heard of it. It's ingenious. It's mind-boggling. What makes it romantic is the thievery behind it.
This is the story of a conniving, creative, intelligent man committing frauds that were fairy tale.
Entire life and never getting caught.
It sounds like the script from a Hollywood movie, from bank robbery to fraud to stealing a diamond brooch from an Austrian museum.
Okay, this precious piece of jewelry was stolen, at least by somebody like James Bond.
Been extremely successful in whatever he chose to do.
For sure, I take pride in what I've done. My story is probably very fascinating because everyone wishes they could do things that I've done or go do these James Bond 007s.
My son has had a lot of things to overcome. He had learning disabilities, borderline dyslexia.
When you were a little kid, people dream of robbing banks or making all this money and living the lifestyle that I've lived. So I think it's a fantasy that most people have, but they actually never executed it like I did.
If he'd have told me that he was going to be a mastermind international thief, I would have just blown it off and go, yeah, sure you are. You know, okay, kid. But he's always been, you know, as you say, a little guy. He looks like a nerd. You know, he looks like a nerd.
When I was a kid, I was very quiet and I kept to myself, and I studied electronics and took things apart. Everyone knew me. They knew my street name as MacGyver. I would build like little electronic contraptions, and because I would always do these little jokes with other students. I was adopted at 6 days old by my mother, Carol. When my mother and stepfather broke up, we went from this very nice house in Canada to basically being poor in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska is not the nicest place to live. It's actually one of the worst, and only the strongest survive. I remember from early childhood when the bank was trying to foreclose on the house that my mother and I and my sister lived in. I remember my mother crying, talking to the bank, saying she would make payments and the bank didn't care. So I've always had this grudge against the banks. We didn't have milk for the cereal, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I used to use like ginger ale for milk. That's how bad it was. So I had to go steal milk from the neighbors.
He never stole milk. I mean, that's part of his story. But they did steal penny candy, and they got walked right back to the store to return it. So those kinds of stories, I think, are just enhanced stories.
Things weren't good for us until I learned to go into the store and I could steal food from the store, which got my addiction to my life of crime.
This house. Are you familiar with the Yep. Said there's a police officer.
He wasn't shy about it. He'd tell the kids in class what he was doing.
Record. And record you. Yeah. Yep. And please. Bless you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, he just wants to take us.
I think he definitely liked the attention from cameras and stuff that people our age just did not have.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
Well, this dad really isn't so bad.
Well, like I said, I documented my whole life from back in the 80s when the VHS video cameras were out way back in the day, the big ones. And I documented my whole entire life so I could look back and watch things.
People knowing, you know, talking about what he did, he liked that attention.
This was his way to make him known, make himself known. gangs were super prevalent. And he had a little, I think it was a slight speech impediment, and with his thick glasses, you just would think that this little scrawny white kid's gonna get killed.
And going to a school that's really tough, you have to like make a name for yourself in order to be accepted around peers around.
He could move in and out of these circles, and everybody had a certain respect for him. So he created an individual identity, and that identity is the one that he carried through, I'm going to say, the life of crime that he was living.
Daddy! Play your small motion. Bring it later. Oh. I have run out. Check the gas. Oh, you put those cigarettes up there. Right, you stuck them. So, why are you two laughing?
Well, I don't know.
Clay, these immature girls don't know anything.
Back in the early days, I was stealing from the stores and it was all a play. Like, you have someone go talk to someone, you distract this person, you steal this, and then you could go sell it, and it was a challenge to see if you could get away with it. And I was pretty good at it.
After he would pull something off, it was just like elation almost. You could see it just in his eyes. Almost what he lived for, I think. And his drug was the thrill of getting caught.
Let's get the shoplifter here.
I couldn't believe some of the things he pulled off. They were amazing.
He likes excitement, and he likes doing stuff right underneath your nose when you're least expecting it. We look for trouble to find excitement because, you know, the normal life wasn't that exciting.
Yeah, security camera even doesn't work.
There was jewelry, silk shirts, cell phones just coming, and pagers being out there. Radio Shack was sort of like a go-to place.
Just the idea of walking in there, distracting the salesman, and having a 8mm camera underneath both armpits, underneath the bomber jacket.
Pretty evident, even from an early stage, that he was going to be what I would call like a master thief.
Look at that butt. Yeah, all those girls like that butt. That's the thing about it.
It seemed like he wasn't satisfied, and he wanted to take more and more risks, and not just, you know, shoplifting something.
Brought to you by Radio Shack. Put the whole world in your hand with Radio Shack's new portable cellular phone. A price and technology.
I'm getting sucked in.
Back in the 80s, Radio Shack was like the Best Buy. It was like the #1 store in North America.
Want a fugitive, freeze, or else I'm gonna blow you.
We literally took so much stuff from that store, millions of dollars every year.
Yep. This year.
And what ended up happening was Easter Sunday, we actually cleared out the whole entire store. We like disconnected the alarm, took everything out with a moving truck. I just became too confident.
I was at work, and when the SWAT team showed up at my house and broke in my front door with their battering ram, my son called me and he goes, "Mom, you might want to come home." He said, "The police just broke in the front door." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm sure they're here to arrest me." My house was a chaotic mess. It looked like a tornado went through everything and dumped every drawer everywhere. I mean, underwear drawers. Hello? What electronics is some woman going to keep in her underwear drawer, really? Well, we won't talk about that.
race played a big part. I was the white kid that went to school. And in the court system, when they see this little kid, oh, he stole some stuff from Radio Shack, let's give him probation versus sending them off to juvenile school. It helped a lot.
It's recording. Oh. Hi, my name is Dan. Got back. It's 22nd of October. The 2nd of October. This is a commitment. I'm staying out of trouble in Claysville Beach. Hi. Thank you.
Hi, Mom. Aren't you glad I'm home?
I'm thrilled to death.
If I happen to die, anything, it's all up to my mom. If I owe any money, tough luck. Feels so bad.
I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was totally dumbfounded. I could not even fathom that my son was this person they were talking about. He ended up living a double life. So he kept that life away from his family, the people he cared about.
I ended up getting probation for like 2 years for this. My probation officer knew about my past. He worked with a lot of the kids in my school. And he basically said, look, can I have some stuff from Radio Shack?
How many nights mixing up to get some PG flow? Guaranteed to get your bed home. It's going my way, feeling good, great. So every day I celebrate like it's a holiday. I know a get back like him when I float your nostrils flare.
I thought for sure that he would straighten up, but of course, he couldn't let it go. He had to keep on doing it.
And he just becomes smarter and better and bigger.
We saw him remove parts off of a cash register to fabricate receipts that were so authentic that the stores could not tell that they were a fake receipt.
We were coming back from Kansas City. We had a carload of stolen merchandise. And of course we get pulled over and asked to come in for questioning. And he had receipts for everything.
Speakers. Figured out a way to make far more money off that stuff by returning it right back to the places he took it from. And they gave him money for it. It was just shocking.
What time is it? It's a good time.
I would keep everything away from my mom. I kept stuff in the lockers at the school, at friends' house in storage lockers.
We're gonna make some money here, Bill. What do you say about that, Mom? Are you down with that?
Wrong way.
No, we're doing that the right way.
Oh, the sign says wrong way.
Oh.
But she would always see me with cars coming to the house with boxes of merchandise, and I would just tell her, oh, I'm reselling stuff that I bought at an auction or at a garage sale, stuff like that.
He would fill up U-Haul trailers sometimes full of merchandise, then return them all around the country for cash.
On a bad week, we make about 4,000. On a good week, we make about 7,000, 8,000.
A few good holiday seasons, he was approaching sometimes 6 figures of monetary gains.
He went from a small town little thief to a money-making machine type deal.
Open a wallet, and you got $10 bills in there. You're popular all of a sudden.
You make money like I do, you could buy anything you want. One of these days I'm gonna own this place, I'll buy it.
I had close to $90,000, $100,000 stored up. On the back side of our house, we had these concrete bricks that are 2 feet by 2 feet. I would lift up this brick and I put the money in garbage bags. And I dug a hole through the sand, put the bags in there, put the sand on top, and dropped the concrete brick back on top. I ended up buying a house at the age of 16. My mom was really surprised when I told her I bought the house. And I explained to her that I bought it through a friend, and I basically said my friend and I are splitting the mortgage cost. And it felt good. I didn't have to worry about money because I have plenty.
You work hard, ladies and gentlemen, you can buy anything. Come on in. Look at our new kitchen. Stove came from Mrs. B's. The dishwasher came from Nebraska Furniture Mart. These cupboards were designed by somebody, I don't know who.
I think Danny progressed to a crazy level. It was fun initially, but became very dangerous and dark towards the end of our relationship. And even not with the thefts, even in the street world with gang members and other ways of trying to launder money, and it got to the point where I pretty much thought that he wasn't going to be around anymore.
That fucking pig.
Omaha fucking police.
Look at that fucking pig.
I think the anger comes from being disrespected. Everyone should be respected no matter what. But when someone outright disrespects you, then you have a problem with it. Or at least I have a problem with it. And I'll make you pay for it. For an example, a friend of mine set his car on fire to collect on insurance.
Yeah, you know, what it comes down to is I helped Dan dispose of a stolen car.
And you don't realize when you put 10 gallons of gas on a car how big of a firebomb it actually makes. And a police officer was nearby.
And we both could have walked away and it would have been no big deal. But he chose to confront the police and try to talk himself out of it. And it didn't work out very well for him.
I immediately recognized the kid as Blanchard because I've had past dealings with him.
He was like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know, some car's on fire.
And as I get close to him, I could smell gasoline from him.
And I was watching him from afar, and at the time, something must have blew up in the car, the gas tank or something blew up. And at that point in time, Dan was in handcuffs immediately, and the cop knew he was up to something, so... Oh, it was comical.
They brought me to the police station, and the police officer totally disrespected me. And I knew I was smarter than him. I knew I was better than him.
I hop in the car and turn the scanner on, and I hear suspect escape from custody. I'm like, what? Escape from custody? That's about right. More or less, the police walked out of the interrogation room, probably to regroup, because this kid's outsmarting them. And in the course of time, yeah, he got up on the table like we're standing and scuffled his way up above a false ceiling, put the ceiling pad back, and he was up in the ceiling the entire time.
I can see like the whole ceiling of the police department. I'm up there. And then I hear the detective come, and he was like, oh shit.
And we hear just, some loud footsteps coming down the stairs, and it's Detective Lever. Did you see him? Where'd he go? And we're like, what do you mean? Who are you talking about? Blanchard, he's gone. He's gone.
Me, being a kid, not very smart, I was circling the police station thinking Dan's going to jump out of a bush and hop in the car and I can help him escape. And that didn't work out either for me.
And they come back to the room like 30 minutes later with my friend Jeff. And his exact words were, I came here to help him get away. And I was like, wow, my friend's like really solid.
We're searching for hours for Blanchard in the area. We're getting tired, getting worn out. At one point, somebody calls, or one of the supervisors calls and says, okay, we're just going to have to call it for the night.
He had the patience to hang out there on the ceiling until everybody went home. They shut down the police shop, and then another fun night for him is he got to explore the inside of a police department where no one's allowed, all on his own.
And the detective that insulted me, I took his gun, his badge, his walkie-talkie, the pictures of his wife and kids off of his desk, his Rolodex file, and I took a bullet out of his gun, put a happy face on it, and stuck it right on the middle of his desk. Took his police jacket, put all the stuff in the police duffel bag, and walked out of the police station. Then I thought, there's no way the police would go to my mom's house to arrest me. Why would I be so stupid? But that's what I did. I went to my mom's house.
He was wore out. He was tired, and that is his weak point. I mean, he needs rest.
The police ended up kicking down the door that morning. Look outside the door, and I see like the SWAT vehicles going across the park toward the house. I was part of the Omaha ERU Emergency Response Unit of the SWAT team. From the time we turned the corner while we were running up to the house to the time we hit that door was 65 seconds. So we searched and we looked. He's not here. He's not here. Keep looking. Keep looking. And we looked in the closet several times. There were all these boxes, and it took us 10, 15 minutes to get all these boxes out of this closet. There was a little cubby hole, and we saw Blanchard hiding behind, I think it was a cement chimney stack coming out of the main level, but he was just hiding back there. He was stark naked, but anyway, I remember that. So they put me in the police car. All the cops are giving high fives. Yeah, we got him. We found the badge, the walkie-talkies from the police station.
So we're pretty happy. You know, the officer's like, hey, score. Yeah, we had a stolen car, an arson, an escapee, all in one night, and it had been solved. We got the guy arrested, so we were pretty happy about that.
He was already cuffed behind his back. We put him into the back seat of the cruiser. The detective actually told me, be careful with this guy. He's kind of slick. He got away from Council Bluffs Police Department last night. So I was quick to tell the detective, oh, don't worry about it. You know, this kid's not going to get away from me. I'm not sure if he had ever been arrested and transported to Central Station before. If he had, then he would know what the practice was of leaving
keys in the car. They lock their guns in a little box. Then they come back to the car, take you out of the car, and take you to the jail, which is in the basement of the police station. And there was the news media.
No, there was no press. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Yeah, there was no press. So I get out. Keys are still in the car.
I jumped in the front seat, locked the front doors.
And I just happened to glance back, and I noticed Blanchard is no longer handcuffed behind his back. He's just like this, with his handcuffs in front. At this point, my career is starting to flash before my eyes, and I realize what's about to happen. And I'm screaming at him at the top of my lungs that I'm going to shoot him through the windshield. The car goes into drive. There's a cacophony, an explosion of noise and tire smoke.
Police officer slightly gets hit. I smashed through the front doors of the police station. The news media are still outside wrapping up, and I'm driving away.
You know, he was gone in an instant, out of the garage. And I stood up, and I couldn't believe what had happened. I literally could not believe my eyes.
Didn't surprise me, because we told them, I know everybody was saying, telling the cruiser guys, you got to watch him, you just can't let your guard down. So it's like, oh my God, here we go again.
Well, I shit my pants and figured, well, I guess this is the way I'm going to get fired. So I ran outside and I took my radio off.
And I hear on the police radio, Blanchard just escaped from the police station, all units, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, he's heading here. And it's me talking to them, trying to send them the other way.
Blanchard takes off and goes back into the state of Iowa with an Omaha police car. He approaches an accident scene that's being worked by Council Bluffs Police Department. That's Officer Galvin, if I'm not mistaken.
And I'm just directing traffic, kind of keeping people moving. I go up and I wave to the officers that go by just because that's normally what we do. And I see the guy.
He sees Danny Blanchard with no shirt on, handcuffed, and actually slows down and
he waves back at me. I seriously thought for a second it was just in my head, but clearly it was him.
So Galvin literally drops his clipboard, drops what he's doing.
I got back to my cruiser, I jump in, I take off. He was weaving in and out of traffic pretty good.
I ended up getting off like 10 minutes later. Took some side roads.
Officer Brad Wright says, hey, I got it. It's coming off of Highway 6 right now. And as he rounds the corner, Blanchard is jumping out of the cruiser and running into like a wooded area.
The foot pursuit took place.
Starts chasing him. He's yelling for him to stop. Stop or I'm going to shoot you. Officer Wright realizes, can see that he's handcuffed and doesn't have a weapon. So he takes off after him and tackles him at that point.
When your child is taken away, there are all kinds of terrible things going through your mind. He'd have black eyes, he'd have fat lip, his face. You could tell clearly that he had been beaten. And it was difficult. Sorry. His stay in prison, I'm sure, changed him a lot. He wasn't the same person that came out of there afterwards.
I used to do 1,000 sit-ups a day, 1,000 push-ups a day. I was in the best shape of my life. I was given a 7-year prison sentence. That drops down to 3.5 years, and you're eligible for parole after that. And then I was deported back to Canada. So the first day when I arrived in Canada after being deported from the States, no money, no nothing. Canadian Customs gave me $10 to take the bus. I bought a $9 disposable camera, took the sales receipt, photocopied it at Staples for 10 cents, stole a couple of them, and started returning those cameras. By the end of the day, I had a couple $100. I felt like I was on top of the world, back to my old self.
It was like starting all over. And he would have to do pretty much everything on his own.
When I arrived in Winnipeg in 1997, I met this beautiful blonde girl, and I happened to be Aaron's girlfriend. And that's how I met Aaron, and we became friends. And I said to him, hey, if you want to make some money, I said, I can help you very easily.
I was 15 years old, and I just got out of the youth center. I didn't really, I was pretty confused, and I was getting into trouble. Dan came along, and he just seemed kind of exceptional. The first day I met him, he took me out. We went to the mall, and he just had these keys, and he was opening up the showcases and stuff in all of the stores, and it was just overwhelming the amount of stuff he was taking from the stores.
Aaron, look through the mirror.
Some days, with the returns, he would make $30,000, $50,000. But I think he was a little bit tired of it by that time. He'd been doing it for 20 years, you know?
We were in Polo Park. This guy's up from the States, just did 4 years in Fed A. He's fucking out and about. Form his shit. I was done doing nothing. He hasn't done a damn thing. The guy's fucking as clean as a whistle. Shit. He's never done a thing. On right now?
People often sit there and stare at things for hours. And sometimes we would sit and he would watch a store or a bank or something, and he would literally spend 8 hours sitting there, eating candy the whole day, and he would be hyper-focused. So I think that's when he started, trying to progress to bigger things.
As I was driving one hot summer day, 2 o'clock in the morning, coming back from a nightclub, and I passed a Scotia Bank in South Edmonton. And I was like, you know what, this bank could be taken very easily. And then I realized, why am I doing these small returns for small money when I can actually just take the cash from the bank? So I rented a hotel across the street, set up all my security equipment there, watching the bank for at least a month and a half. If someone was inside the bank, I was watching. I studied everything. Okay, how am I going to get into the bank? How do you bypass the security systems? How are you going to bypass the motion sensors? Take them apart, figure them out, analyze them. Where are the police stations located? How are you going to open up the ATM door? How are you going to open up the ATMs? How are you going to get into? Every ATM has 5 trays. Every tray holds about $80,000 to $100,000. Measure the whole bank count, how many feet, practice exactly what I need to do, put tape on the floor, run from here to there. It's like playing a chess game, because one mistake, your freedom is gone. That taught me a lesson in life where if you're confident in yourself and you plan things enough, you'll get away with it. Who else can go into a bank and walk out with $500,000? No one knows anything. It just vanished. So my feeling is I could only trust myself. So growing up, basically, I was by myself when I had to do things or learn things. I didn't have someone I could talk to or take advice from.
Scene 3, take 1, Mark.
Okay. My name is Richard Fedor, and I'm the biological father of Gerald Hancher, criminal mastermind of the world. Okay. My girlfriend was 15. I was 17. We were kids ourselves. And she put him up for adoption. I had no say. She was the mother. And my older brother called me up and said, your son's here, and he'd like to know if he could talk to you. I said, sure, I'd love to talk to him. Why wouldn't I? That's my blood. And I said, Dan, just to let you know, I'm recording you. So when I hit that rocking chair when I'm 100, I'll have something to listen to. And he said, don't worry, I'm recording you too. So it's kind of like father, like son, we're on the same page. Maybe he felt rejected, being put up for adoption.
The way I see my relationship with my father is just friends. He hasn't been a part of my life, so I consider him as a friend, but not a father figure.
Maybe what made him what he is, I think he just wanted to show the world that the smartest man in the world just got rejected.
So I was in a new line of work after the very first bank job. And every bank that I did after that, I got better and better at my unique techniques to get into them.
CTV News, top story.
Tonight, a sophisticated robbery at a CIBC branch in the Polo Park area.
The CIBC branch in Empress Street hadn't even opened yet, but its automatic teller machines.
ATMs were robbed while the bank was still under construction. More than $500,000 was stolen.
It's got authorities shaking their heads over the high level of sophistication it took to pull this off.
For me, it started as a young boy. I was always impressed with wanting to be a police officer, and that was my dream as a boy, and the rest was history, so to say.
They were looking for the right winger on the Winnipeg Police hockey team. They approached me about maybe applying, and I ended up getting on, and just kind of, it was my niche. It was really good because it's a team.
I've never even heard of anything like this. Never even heard of it. An outright theft of $750,000 cash, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
This is a very sophisticated type break and enter. This is not something we saw every day. Never saw it in 27 years of my career.
The CIBC just constructed this brand new building that was so secure, and, well, it was circumvented. It was really quite a mystery. Quite a mystery how these locked ATMs could have been opened so quickly and then the cash taken out and there was nothing to be seen. Nothing to be seen.
People kind of threw up and said, well, there's other work to do and this one looks a little too hard to get done. It looked to me that it was solvable. So we formed a task force that we eventually called Project Kite.
We had a war room, where desks and corkboards up. At the high of it, we probably had 14 detectives, running around for us, gathering what was needed.
We didn't want to go to the task force, but Mitch wanted us and we were forced to go.
I think the crime scene just really was the open backs of the ATM, so at the time, nobody knew how the person even got into the ATMs.
So you would have seen media, movies, and similar interesting thefts or strange crimes that have been committed that were certainly outside the lines of the norm. And this is one of those.
So we got a lot of ground to cover to finally figure out how this happened.
Well, what happened was I flew to Winnipeg to visit my family, and my grandmother was telling me about how they're closing down her CIBC branch. And I said, what do you mean? And she said they're closing all the little smaller branches and putting 7 or 8 smaller branches into this one big mega branch. And that piqued my interest.
There was a big sign out front saying future home of the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. There, the seed was set.
Because at that time, there's no securities on the banks when they were being built. No alarm systems, no guards. It's just a shell. There's no money, there's no nothing.
So I went across the street to Home Depot, bought a hard hat, a vest, put it on, walked in there.
This was an opportunity for him to put devices into the bank that would aid him in the future. I don't know how people think that way.
Well, the first time was pretty easy. I just went to Toys R Us and bought a $50 baby monitor. Screw that in there, plaster it up, sand it down, repaint it, and within 2 hours, you're done.
So he would have been able to listen to the general contractor say, okay, well, boys, this room's got to be done by such and such a day because the ATMs are coming on May 13th. So he would know that.
As the bank is being built, he's also putting ways to get in the bank and ways to get out of the bank. He had gone into the bank when it was being built, into the back of the motion detector, and he soldered the wire and ran it all the way back into the bathroom
so that he can go in there and go twist. Now the motion detector in the ATM doesn't work. So when he drops through the ceiling later, it doesn't go off.
The preparation takes as long as it takes to build the building, which could be several months, could be a year. The level of patience is just mind-blowing to me.
And so what happened is he realized that each ATM holds about 100,000 Canadian dollars. All you need to do is figure out a way to get into these little safes. And he figured out a brilliant way to do it.
And the way it works is that the Brinks guard has a fob, and then he has to phone in for a code that works once. So he spins a dial, punches in a code, uses the fob, and the door opens. So it's very secure, normally.
None of that matters. It's just show and tell. It's like when you're doing it from the inside out to modify things, you have full access.
Gerald found a way to manipulate a very sophisticated, well-engineered lock by just manipulating some of the screws that held that lock in position. It was ingenious. It was absolutely ingenious.
The body of the screw had been sawed through to about 80% through. So now when they reef on the locking mechanism, those already tampered with screws sever, and they all peel back, and the locking mechanism swings open, and shazam, there's your money.
On the eve of when this bank was going to open to the public, they were filled with money to the tune of about $750,000 cash.
And I knew all that money would be in my pockets. So I just sat patiently and watched and waited until the time was right. And I felt like it would be better to have at least 2 people, because I figured if there's 7 bank machines, there's going to be 4 trays per machine. That's quite a bit of boxes to carry out. So I had my cousin be the driver for the vehicle. And he's the one who wanted to bring his friend John Doe into the mix. So that night when I did the robbery, I climbed up to the roof, had the steel bars and the air vents pre-cut, dropped through the air vents, crawled to the other side, dropped down into the ATM room. I could hear the fans of the machines, and it was nice and quiet. Once I twisted the 2 wires, that gave me full access to walk around the ATM room without any security devices going off. Now, as soon as I opened the ATM machine, I knew the alarm was going to go off.
He was able to get into these ATMs one after another, probably within 20 or 30 seconds. We could see by the alarms afterwards that they went bang, 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 bang. The adrenaline rush must be overwhelming.
So I opened up the machine, twisted the lock, grabbed the 4 trays from each machine, sat them on the dolly. Police officers responded, checked the bank. There was no signs of forced entry. There was nothing suspicious, and kind of cleared the call. So after we took all the trays out, we closed the doors, opened up the fire exit. We drove away, and then we went to the safe house and started counting the money.
If you're the bank manager coming in that morning, you open the front door, you look at the 6 ATM machines, everything looks good here, right? It's only when you go into the back room behind where the machines are serviced that you would see each one of the doors open, right? And the cash tray's gone. Everything is intact. It looks like if I close the door, it would lock.
They canvassed the area, and the CIBC was in a shopping mall area, and there was a Walmart. So it just happened on that night. There happened to be a Walmart greeter in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, that was checking for license plates. And when they checked the plate, it came up to a Gerald Daniel Blanchard from Edmonton, Alberta, and it was being rented from Avis at the airport. And from there, Gerald Daniel Blanchard became a person of interest.
Danny Blanchard, he registered that vehicle, rented it in his name.
You ask yourself the question, how could someone so smart be so dumb?
But I must say, when the police were in the ATM room, behind the bank machines, fingerprinting everything, trying to figure everything out. I was watching them. I could see what they were talking about. And they said, hey, this guy, Gerald Blanchard, had this van in the parking lot.
The bank manager received a call that someone from inside the bank that constructed the bank was responsible.
Hi, I have a tip for you. I know who robbed your bank. They're going to rob you again, but this time with guns blazing. You better be careful. I don't want anybody hurt.
That totally diverts the police investigating at the time on two different tangents.
So we're running one way and he's running out of the city with everything he's got. You know, it's Gerald Daniel Blanchard from Edmonton. Who is he? We didn't have any intelligence on him.
So we make a phone call to the Canadian Bankers Association and we say, have you ever had anything similar? Similar? Well, as a matter of fact, Larry, yes, there have been. We learned that similar events happened in Edmonton. Similar events happened out east in the Etobicoke.
Yeah, Scotiabank in the Brantford, Ontario area.
Went to the Alberta Treasury Board.
And an additional CIBC,
2 or 3 at least there were in Edmonton.
Scotiabank in British Columbia.
BC, we had teams in Alberta, we had teams locally here in Winnipeg.
It started to get bigger and bigger.
And we had banks calling us.
I would say probably in the dozens.
I don't think there's a number you can say. You can see the smile to my face. It was very good.
More details tonight from police on the organized crime ring with Winnipeg ties.
As we started to move along, it really started to expand.
A sophisticated operation Winnipeg police can't help but marvel at.
I was out of control. I just wanted every bank that was being done as much as I could. And that's why I went from the bank in Winnipeg right to the bank in Toronto, from the bank in Toronto back to the bank in Edmonton. I was just a wild man at the time. I flew back to Winnipeg, and there was a Royal Bank ATM machine sitting outside of the drive-thru. I put the tarp over the machine, and I took a circular saw, and I bought a diamond blade that will cut through an inch of steel like butter. The door popped right open. There's $200,000 right there. So I look out the tarp, and I'm being surrounded by the police. But I had a backup plan. I'm wearing a vest with 6 smoke grenades. I pull the 2 grenades off of my vest, throw them out from underneath the tarp toward the police officers. Smoke everywhere. I run a couple blocks away, and I hide under this car. And before you know it, there's a dog. Dog has me. I'm arrested. So I go to jail, and as I'm walking in the jail, I look to my left, and I see this room. And it's like a classroom. It has my picture at the very top. It has like all my relatives and all my associates underneath. And I realize there's a big investigation going on regarding me. And the detective like yanks me and tells me, mind your own business, as I'm walking by. Strange thing is, they give me like $2,000 cash bail.
He was interviewed and then released on what we call a promise to appear on paper. And he used an alias. So his true identity never ever came out until later when we started running names and doing background, and then going, holy crow, he was upstairs. I mean, he was just upstairs. That's when things came up that, you know, Gerald had at least 22 aliases and different names.
He wouldn't say it was Daniel Blanchard that did it. It was one of his aliases that would again have no record. He would be released shortly thereafter of doing that break-in, and then he's back on the street again.
It's not like the US. Everyone knows here in Canada, non-violent crime is a slap on the hands. In the US, I was looking at 160 years in prison. I knew the police were investigating me, and they were getting in the way of my goals. So I would always antagonize them if they caused an issue with me.
Very early on, Gerald wanted to talk to the people running the squad. He knew our names. I don't know how he knew our names, but he knew our names. He phoned down to the Major Crimes Unit, posing as Winnipeg Police, said that Gerald Blanchard was a friend of his and give him preferred treatment and to treat him white. Just playing with me, right? Well, at one point in time, he sent me a text message with a whole bunch of pictures of him sitting on a yacht and driving a Ferrari and, you know, money on an ATM, just to kind of poke me again, you know, just like
Poking the bear, I suppose. He likes to tease a little bit. He sent pictures when he was in China and he's at an ATM machine. He had piles of cash piled up, you know, wrapped.
It's the game he plays. It's the challenge he likes. You know, he likes that challenge. Much like we, or I, like the challenge of trying to figure it out and catch him, you know. So, different challenges, but that was the most enjoyable thing, is trying to match wits with whoever you're trying to arrest.
Well, Larry and Mitch, they had sleepless nights. They had no vacation, they told me. They worked 24-hour days sometimes, exhausting days to catch me. So they put so much effort into me, they felt like they knew me better than they knew their own wife.
I hate to say it, but it's a game. It becomes a game. We're always thinking, trying to plan on how we're going to catch him. How are we going to get evidence on this guy? How are we going to bring him to the courts and prosecute him?
Conditions of the courtroom, all the rules around accusing people, finding them guilty, that's a different world.
If you don't have your evidence, you're done.
There wasn't a lot there. There was a few little snippets of good information. This file was really calling for it. It was just screaming, wiretap, wiretap.
I lost a jug of whiskey betting that he wouldn't say 2 words on the phone and be a waste of time. And he never shut up.
They probably do for the alarmists. They just disconnect the phone line from the alarm. That's so the alarm can't call anybody.
Yeah, exactly what they do. They disconnect the phone line and then they go through the roof. You know your shit. Why the fuck don't we do that?
It's 30,000. It's peanuts.
Not enough money, eh?
No, not for me.
Even if you do them like every night.
Well, you do 10 of them, that's 300,000. No, it's just not worth it to me. I got...
It's like over $1 million, eh?
Exactly. In cash. Why risk all of that?
The same day that we hooked up, he was already active and involved in crime. And that's really when everything just took off. Because when you listen to somebody on a wiretap, you really get to know them.
He was living the life of Riley. You know, he had money, lots of it. He was keeping company with the rich and famous, beautiful women. Yeah, he had the world by the tail.
The aha moment would be is that he just continues to commit crime. It's not the money. And you start to think, well, why is he doing this? You can't use the money. He doesn't need the money.
Some of his crimes seem very petty, actually almost comical.
He would fabricate badges indicating he was the press, or he was a special VIP, and get into indie races.
Or get a bird's eye view of a Stanley Cup final game. He was traveling the world.
So as you listen to him more, you start to get a sense of who you think he is and what he's all about.
I like having things you're not supposed to have because it makes me feel special.
He does things just for the thrill of it. He did a break into our bank and got $600,000, and then very shortly thereafter, he's shoplifting a toaster.
There was this little wheel going round and round and round, and it never stopped. In my experience, the more you commit this type of crime, the more you are, in fact, addicted to the high that it gives you. And you hear him on the wiretaps saying, I know I am being taped, and then going into the details of the crimes that he has committed or potentially will commit. knowing full well that there is a police officer on the other end of that listening device by way of saying, I can fool you big boys. I'm just a little guy, but watch me run.
He deals with an adrenaline rush. That's what it is. It's a challenge. I have it too. I'm a professional fighter. I've said to people, I wouldn't be afraid to bite your eyeball out if it came down to, or bite your nose off. I'm not out to lose.
While they're trying to chase me all over the globe, I actually kind of enjoy it. I see them there, they know that I see them. I gave chase a few times to the undercover detective cars, letting them know, like, hey, I know who you are. And it's like, catch me if you can. That's my thought at the time.
I want to tell this story to let people know that there is another side to my son, and not just the criminal side. When my son got sent back to Canada was when he met Ramona.
As you see, Mother, I'm good, and this is my friend, and your name is? Ramona Haas. And she's flying to where?
Germany.
For how long?
For 4 months.
It must be nice.
Hello.
And how can you afford all these lovely vacations?
Through my parents.
And what do your parents do for it?
Why do you want to know that? You know.
They're a real estate tycoon. What's that word?
Owner?
No, real estate custodian.
We own a state, you know.
I had no idea that my son was living a double life, basically. I was extremely happy that my son had found a young woman that I really liked, and he seemed extremely happy with her. He felt confident, and he was getting to live a life that I couldn't imagine living myself. They started, scuba diving, they went snorkeling, they went skiing. They were doing all kinds of things that I never had the opportunity to do. I really, really liked Ramona. I grew to love her, and she became a part of our family. So I saw my son being happy. According to my son, financially then, her father was helping them establish real estate. So there was no question about my son being involved in any kind of crimes. I mean, why would I even think that when he got established with this family who had money?
So I was married to a German lady, and her father was quite wealthy, so we took a tour across Europe. And he received a private tour of the castle in Austria. And that's when I saw the Sissy Star on display for the first time.
It's the romantic part of the whole story. It truly is. Which comes along kind of out of the blue to us, right? We do an Interpol check because, that's what you would do in a high-profile file like this. And lo and behold, we received this information back that says Gerald Blanchard of Canada is a person of interest in the theft of this Sissy Star.
That would have been in like 98, 99. That's a long time ago.
It is so much known and it's so famous, these diamond stars, because there's such a story behind it. It's such an important, beautiful story behind it. They're very rare, and this precious piece of jewelry was stolen, and everybody was shocked at how can this happen. Sissy, the famous empress, she was a wonderful, beautiful lady with long, long hair, and she used to adorn her hair with diamond stars. And she was painted with her long hair, with the stars in her hair. And so this got somehow iconic, and these diamond stars are very much known.
After Sissy's death and then after the monarchy, it was not quite clear where all the stars went. They were gone. We had one of the stars, we had one of the original stars, which Elizabeth wore, was just a highlight of the exhibition.
Hi. Bertie, who are you talking to? Let me see your walkie-talkie. And how does it work?
Empress Elizabeth from Austria, nicknamed Sissy, was known for her impossibly thin waist and incredibly long hair. One of the most famous depictions of her is a portrait, with her hair decorated in a series of diamond and pearl stars. What you see now is the last of Sissy's famous stars.
I just couldn't pass up the Sissy star because it was so beautiful, like, it was shining under the light, sparkling, and I knew I needed to take it with me.
So schaut das berühmte Schwimmen am helllichten Tag während einer Sissi-Ausstellung im Schloss Schönbrunn von einem als Touristen getarnten Dieb gestohlen worden.
Wir waren natürlich schockiert, wir waren aber auch sehr verwundert, weil wir eigentlich bis heute die letzten Details dieses Diebstahls nicht erklären können.
We reported to the police came, the police searched the whole thing, no, there was nothing. Nothing.
Wie das eigentlich passiert ist, das war offensichtlich lang vorbereitet, weil das war eine Sicherheitsvitrine.
If you can't say what exactly happened, there was a lot of kind of mysterious stories going around.
The star was stolen is terrible, but at least it's a very good story how it was stolen, and all in all the newspapers is still in the head of everybody in Austria.
Okay, I have to be careful on how I say that, because if I outright say I stole it, then I could be charged in Austria for that. So it was reported in the newspaper that I had jumped out of his airplane and landed on the roof of the castle. This is the Hollywood version.
He said he was flown over top of the museum and he parachuted out.
No. It would be absolutely crazy to jump down with a parachute.
I know there was a parachute found in the garbage in the castle, and the guards have a record of the finding a parachute.
No. We never got any information about this.
He climbed down the side of the museum. He went in through a window. I don't clearly believe that part of the story.
The State Departments are secured from the outside. So if somebody would break in the windows, if you open the windows, alarm. If you walk in the room, alarm.
The glass case housing it with the security screws were removed. A pressure-sensitive device underneath was somehow cheated in a way that it could be replaced with a fake. It was only until 2 or 3 weeks later it was determined that it was a replica from the gift shop.
Yeah, it was sold in the shop. It was a shop item, bestseller.
I'm quite astonished that it took them such a long time because it's quite obvious that they look really different.
They must have had help from probably even inside the palace, but we still don't know exactly because Mr. Blanchard says he kind of did something different.
Which one do I believe? I believe he shoplifted the gem and went and switched it out. I think the other thing is just to sell newspapers, as they say.
Actually, I took it because I knew maybe someday this could be a bargaining tool for future crimes that I have planned. And it was a priceless item from a museum, and that's why I took it. Plus it looked nice.
It's boring to steal money, but to steal a piece like that, who is doing that? Nobody else in the world. So you get famous if you steal the Mona Lisa, if you steal a Van Gogh or whatever. There are maybe hundreds of pieces in the world which are really special. Everybody knows them. In Austria, everybody knows the Sissi stars. So you get somehow immortal. You might get famous through doing that, and he did get famous, of course.
we went to his grandma's house, and he was like, I need to show you something. And I was like, okay. So he pulls out the diamond, he was like, this thing's worth a lot of money. And I was like, to me, it didn't really look like, it looked old and kind of like grandma's jewelry, you know. I was like, all right, well, let's get it up into the ceiling so we could get back out and do whatever we were up to before that, you know. wasn't really too interested in it, but I figured, like, he told me, if we ever get arrested, this is our ticket out of jail, so keep it between us.
It wasn't until later that Interpol got information that he was responsible. A guy by the name of Gerald Blanchard from Canada. That's all they had. But it was right around that time that him and his then wife separated. So you can probably figure out where the information came from.
Things changed for him pretty drastically at that point after he and Ramona were divorced.
At that time, I was married to my wife, where she really didn't know the type of person I was deep down inside. She found out about my criminal past, and it was shocking to her and her family.
He ended up getting into relationships that were more one-sided, and I could tell that my son looked worried and stressed.
He actually wanted me to join his Mission Impossible team, but I was too into my martial arts instead. Like a Canadian Wolverine, Chuck Norris of Canada.
I would probably say my right-hand person was Angela James. She was my girlfriend from the past. We trusted each other. We had good chemistry, and we worked pretty well. And she was an honest girl.
What's wrong? Put the thing on my face.
Fuck, you do this to everyone else. It can't be done to you.
I don't do it to nobody.
It's sitting right there. I could have stopped a long time ago, but you always need that thrill. It's actually an addiction, because I've had tens of millions of dollars throughout my life, and I continued doing crimes. But things started spiraling out once I met Sergey, or I call him the boss.
We had gone for the day, and the girls in the monitoring room immediately phoned us.
He received a phone call from the United Kingdom. The person had a English accent, and he said, "How quick can you get your crew together, Danny? I need you to do something for me in Cairo," right? And, whoa, what's that all about, right?
This guy here is the boss. He's the top fucking guy. Like, let me tell you.
What time? I need to know what time.
Like, you know what? This guy does this all to me every time. He calls me up at the very last minute. He was like, "Are you ready to go?" And like, I just drop everything that's around me. Like, no matter what I'm doing, I just drop it and off I go. And like, people around me are like, "What the fuck?"
I trust you.
He's in Vancouver, she's in Edmonton. Aaron Seiberg's in Manitoba.
Egypt. Kidding me? That's where I'm being. That too. Do you have a passport? No, I don't. Dan, you're a pecker what? I'm not joking. I'll be there in like 24 hours. You're gonna be there in 24 hours? Yeah. Oh my God, Dan. I know if you. Man, you hooking up so good. I wish I had my passport. I'm just a fucking idiot.
The boss is the only name we ever get, but we understand him to be very, very involved in credit card fraud all across Europe, and that this is a big fish.
Hello. Hey, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Good. Okay, good news. I have a flight for tomorrow night. Leaves the city that I live in at 8:30 tomorrow night, and it gets to your city Saturday at 1:30.
This was a trip like, I want you moving tomorrow. That's the level of urgency that there was to that call.
As soon as he hung up the phone with the boss, he was on the phone to Angela James.
Okay, Ange.
I'm getting a big headache.
How come?
I don't know what to tell like my dad and my grandma.
She's a little bit beside herself, doesn't know what to do. And Danny says, "Well, put your mom on the phone," and perfectly describes what they're going to be doing.
Here's my mom.
Okay. I know this guy, right? He basically gives you a stack of blank debit cards. Yeah. And you walk up to an ATM machine and you start withdrawing money from each of these blank cards.
Okay, and then what happens if you guys get caught out there?
There is no getting caught because you have a magnet with you which will erase the card.
Okay, promise me you'll keep an eye on her?
They also included a person by the name of Bloom Kashongwe.
I'm booking my flight for tomorrow.
No, wait a minute. You can't leave us behind.
No, I'm not leaving you. I'm booking mine tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to book your flight sometime tomorrow night. As of right now, we have 3 people, me, you, and Angie. I think us 3 can handle it, don't you?
Yeah, we can handle it. I'm coming.
Okay, I got to book this ticket. All right, bye.
From the time the phone call came in from the boss to the time he was on a plane on his way to Heathrow and then Cairo was probably within days or hours. Now we're scrambling, trying to cover that, trying to gather the evidence and not really having enough time to put everything in place.
We'll catch you. They'll catch the rat. Yeah, the rat. Yeah, we'll catch the rat. We'll catch the rat. I said, we'll kill the enemy.
You know, American, it's like a movie. Oh, they believe the magic more than the truth.
What are you looking at?
My ticket.
Where are you going to go?
Back home.
Haha, that's what you think.
So we land in Cairo, we contacted the boss back in England, and we're all going to start hitting these ATM machines using these debit cards.
They had credit card recorders, that they had machines that imprinted credit cards. And he went with people to ATMs across Cairo, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Is there the man with the master plan?
And we were just standing there for hours and hours until the machines ran out of money. After we went for the day, we'd bring all these duffel bags in, empty them in the bathtub. The bathtub was completely filled with money. It was a lot. It was a pile of money.
Obviously, they were very successful. There's video that shows an individual sitting in a closet counting money, and as the camera veers in, you can see, a pile like 3 feet by 3 feet high of stacked money. They were obviously having fun.
We got some pretty specific information, and that guy was dressed in a burqa, which is the typical customary dress of Muslim women, so that he wouldn't be identifiable on any video that might exist.
So there was this man from small-town Omaha committing frauds that were fairy tale-like. He dressed in a burqa.
So everything was good. But Bloom Kashongwe decided to take some of the boss's cards, take some of the boss's money, and skedaddle off to another point in Africa. This didn't sit well with the boss, right? And, Danny was getting some pressure for this.
I wish you could see the Kens here.
What happened to Ken? I checked with all the police stations everywhere, and there's no sign of him. He's not in jail. There's no problem with immigration. So either he ran away with it, or he's in the mother country in jail.
He probably ran away with it because he wasn't supposed to go to any other country, was he?
No, he wasn't.
All right, then. Why fuck?
Ken took that money and bought blood diamonds. He jumped on a plane to Paris and was thrown in immigration jail. They found the diamonds and they got seized. Now, I had no idea where Ken was. He just stopped answering the phone. He just vanished.
Blanchard was very amped up. He was sound concerned. He said the guy that he was with had taken off with the credit cards, that the boss didn't know where he was, and he was now threatening both Blanchard and Bloom with physical harm.
Yeah, because I said fucking Ken fucking ran away. Fucking the London guy. And he's basically saying it's my responsibility if I don't deal with the guy. His people would take him away and do whatever. I'm just fucking stressed right now. I got like so much going on.
Well, he's scared. He's scared that, if they don't find him, they're going to find me.
I'm sure he figured that Bloom would be killed because now there was guns and now there was things where he felt uncomfortable and threatened and was worried for his safety.
The boss, he was freaking out thinking maybe we were going to stiff him for millions of dollars we had from Cairo. So he sent another crew in from Cairo to babysit us.
Sit down.
They're basically his muscle. They're like gangsters, you could call them. Like, they look like killers.
It was pretty clear to him that the London boss was more than just a fraudster. I learned that he was the figurehead, the leader of a criminal organization to fund terrorist activities in the Middle East. That's what I learned.
So Gerald's stuck in Cairo now. The boss not letting him go. They let Angela go home, but they kept Blanchard there. So I think he was pretty worried.
So when are you coming back so I can tell Bill?
On the 7th is when my ticket's booked.
Sit down.
Things are just super, super fucked for me right now. Unless if I come up with a quick miracle here.
I think he appreciated that the boss was not fooling around and not making vacant threats.
He's got himself into something now and he doesn't know how to get out of it.
And what he had to do was figure out